As many of you know, or some of you know, I'm into biohacking. I kind of was force invited into it because I have an autoimmune condition. And over the last 2 years, we've done a lot of different things. We've experimented and we've kind of got to know ourselves. We've got to know our bodies. My husband and I, he has had some other problems with his health. And so it's been really phenomenal for both of us. And we're getting kids involved into that too. But here's the reason for it, and here's why biohacking is important. Well, what is biohacking, right? Biohacking is when you control the environment around you and inside of you so that you can control your biology. By inside of you, it means what you take in, whether it's through food, supplements, or anything else. The environment around you is what you do, how you do it, how often, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of things that are in biohacking, right? And the reality is that you have to understand your body. You have to know yourself, right? From a mental perspective, from a physical perspective, you have to understand what your body is, what it does, and how it does it. And it's always good to know more about you, but specifically with biohacking and why it's absolutely necessary in business is because a couple of years ago, maybe a year or so ago, we did this experiment where we purchased this continuous glucose monitor. And neither of us has diabetes, thankfully, but we wanted to see how our bodies react to different things, different foods. That was the intention, but we actually found some interesting things too. I remember my coach, Julie, actually said to me once, "You will be surprised how much stress affects your body." And I remember thinking, okay. But last July, I launched my bookkeeping training, right? I created that training because I just couldn't find really good bookkeepers that were up to my level in terms of quality, because most just learn the software and think that they're bookkeepers, which is not the case. And so I created the training so that I can train bookkeepers the way I would want them as a CPA, and then other CPAs as well. And so I created that training and I launched it last July, end of July, beginning of August. And that's when I had my continuous glucose monitor on. And what was interesting was that entire 2 weeks of launch, I was extremely stressed out because I was doing webinars, I was doing all the things, and my glucose level was out of range, meaning over 115 or 110, whatever that was, which is considered pre-diabetic or even diabetic in some ways, the entire 2 weeks, even during sleep. So we all know that money worries directly affects your mental health because it's one of the biggest sources of anxiety, one of the biggest sources of stress, money. And so because of that, I saw it firsthand on myself, right? I'm only speaking about what I've experienced. I only saw how much it affects my glucose levels. And that's just one parameter, glucose. There's other things like high blood pressure and a bunch of other things, cortisol levels as well. And so it not only directly affects your mental health if you worry about money, but it also directly affects your physical health as well. And I saw it firsthand. I saw it and I was surprised. My coach, Julie, was right. I was surprised about how much our business, our worries affect our mental and physical health. And so when you're running a business, it's really important to pay attention to your body because, like it or not, unless your business is scaled and operating like clockwork, you're not really avoiding stress and anxiety about money. Typically, what I like to do is I like to have every business have some recurring revenue so that you can count on it, and some one-time revenue to supplement the recurring. That's when you can count on some base amount of money that comes in, but also use more money as a one-time revenue when you have capacity to handle more work. And because of that, that creates less money anxiety, right? Removes anxiety from the equation, from the business, and more profit. You keeping more of your money is also a huge boost of mental health and physical health in your body. You know, when you work for somebody else, you would have less of a worry because it's stable. I mean, there's always the possibility of, you know, being let go, being fired, but hopefully it's more or less stable. You know, we've just seen in the pandemic the rise of um, side hustlers, right? And people don't want to work for somebody else. A lot of people don't. And so that's why it's important to keep in mind that when you manage your own thing, you have to treat it as a business, number one, and you have to pay attention to your body too. And you have to create ways to reduce that stress, to reduce that money anxiety by creating a recurring revenue in your business so that you can have a better life and have a better business and have a better health as well.